something with construction. That's all. So, okay. So at the top of page 17, we're going to put the title. Please tell me if you can't see something on the board. And these are literal equations. If I could spell. Does anybody know what a literal equation is? Okay, what's literal? Lit. Okay? Yeah. What did you say? Literal. Yeah, like an actual. Okay, so literal, literature. In literature, your reading has lots of words, right? Not so many numbers. Okay? In math, usually you have a lot of numbers and not so many words or letters. So today, when we do literal equations, we are actually going to take away most of the numbers and only have a whole bunch of variables. Okay? So a literal equation is an equation. With, yes, we're just not putting something on 16 yet. So it's equation with two or more variables. And we're going to draw on what we've done in the past with equations.
So you have to turn on one of the lights actually better.
In knowing how to solve equations in order to figure this out. Too dark? It's okay. Okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, and I recommend, is I'm going to divide this paper in half. So I'm going to draw a line right down the middle of it. And on the left side, I'm going to have my equations that you guys already know how to solve. Okay? Doesn't matter. It's on 17. And on the right side, I'm going to put an equivalent literal equation. Okay? So the first equation I'm going to start with is just a quite simple one, 2x equals 10. And if I asked you to solve this, you would be solving for what variable? X. So I'm going to highlight the variables that I solved. That's why there's highlighters on your table to use. Okay? And if I'm going to solve this equation for x, I would need to do what? Yep. And so I would get x equals 5. Okay? I'm confident that we all could solve that equation. Okay? So, the literal part of that, or if I took this equation and made it a literal equation, would be something like this. AB equals C. So I removed all of the numbers. Okay? When you have a literal equation, you will be told what letter to solve for. Okay? So you'll either be told to solve for A, told to solve for B, told to solve for C, whatever. Okay? So in this case, I'm going to tell you, or I'm going to highlight B. So it will either tell you, sometimes that letter is bold, sometimes it's italicized, something like that. Okay? So if I need to solve for B, I need to get B by itself. So that means I have to get rid of the A. How am I going to get rid of the A? Divide by A. And so we get B equals C divided by A. The answer will not be just a number. Okay? The answer will have multiple variables in it. Okay? And the future, how we're going to use this is, one of the next things that we're going to go into is graphing. Okay? And when you graph lines, there's 3 different forms of them. And so you have to be able to change the forms. And by changing each form, you're using literal equations to do that. Questions on what we did there? Does it make sense relating it back to what you know? Because you guys are really good at solving equations. Okay, so here's problem number 2. Okay, so go ahead, solve this on your own.
Do that say that x plus 14 too? Or 30?
Okay, somebody tell me how to solve this.
Go ahead. Subtract 14 on both sides.
So 34 minus 14 is,
Divide by 5.
okay? But I gotta move it up. Sorry, I can't take this box off the screen. Otherwise I would. Okay, so the literal part of that would be something like this. A, B plus C equals D. So all the numbers got replaced by letters. Okay? And I'm going to solve for B. So just like we did the regular equation, what letter do I have to move first in my literal? I have to move the C. So that's a plus C, so I'm going to subtract C. So I will get AB equals D minus C. And then again, I need to solve for B, so I need B by itself. So how do I get rid of the A? Divide by A. And so we will get B equals D minus C divided by A. Does that one make sense? A multi-step one? Okay. And I will try to give you examples throughout today and tomorrow of multiple different ones because not everyone's going to be the same and Math Excel likes to throw really weird ones at you. Okay, so number 3. This is similar to one we looked at already. Am I up on the screen? Okay. So this one's quite similar to number 1. Just put the variable on the other side. So if the variable goes to the other side, I'm still going to solve for B. So how am I going to solve for B?
Divide 2B.
Divide by the 2. Yep. And so 3 divided by 2 is
1.5.
1.5. Or how else could I write that answer?
25.
Or how else could I write that answer? 3/2. There's 3 answers. If this was on Math Excel, it would only accept 2 of them. Which 2 would they accept?
The first 2.
The fraction. So 1.5 and 3/2. It will not accept the decimal. Okay? So you need to be careful about that. We will talk about this throughout, about equivalent forms as we go through this. Okay? So just be aware of that. Okay, so let's see who knows their formulas. What is the formula? Don't shout it out. If you think you know it, write it down. For the area of a rectangle. If I wanted to find the area of this tabletop, how would I do that? What's the formula for area?
Length times width times height.
No, that's volume.
Ain't it just length times width?
That's volume.
For volume. No.
What he gave me was volume.
I said length
Antonio?
times width. You said raise your hand.
Okay, so I said raise your hand, yeah. So you could either have base times height, or some people put length times width. It's basically how your teacher in the past taught you. If they called it base times height all the time, you probably know it that way. If they called length times width, put an L and a W there. It's fine, either one, okay? Now, I'm going to solve this for H. So what am I going to do?
Divide by B.
Divide by your base or divide by B. If it's a capital letter, you need to keep it a capital letter. If it's a lowercase letter, keep it a lowercase letter. They all have different meanings. Right? So where would this be helpful? If I gave you the area, and you guys all came from geometry in the past, and you had problems where you were given the area of the figure, and you were given the height, and you had to find the base. Okay? That's a literal equation. Probably didn't set it up like this, okay? But that's all things that you've done in the past, okay? That you can relate to this, okay? These formulas that are here aren't formulas that I just randomly made up. They're formulas that came from some either, you know, in science, or it could be a math formula, or it could be formulas that I could just find that were related to something, but some of them I don't even know exactly what they relate to. Okay, so let's look at this one. 3 equals 2 plus, this is the last one we're doing on this page. Okay, so solve it for W.
So I do minus times 2W,
Not first, you're going to have to move the 2 first.
minus 2, minus 3,
Yep, so minus 2. Okay, so Trent started this problem by saying we're going to subtract 2. 3 minus 2 is 1. And then if I still need to solve for W, Trent, what would you do? Divide by 2. Okay. Okay, what's the word perimeter mean?
All around.
The outside.
The outside, so add up all around the outside, okay? So if I give you, I'll go back to my rectangle, okay? So if I give you a rectangle, you're going to add up all 4 sides, right? Okay? What else do you know about a rectangle? What's the same on a rectangle?
What's the what?
What's the same on a rectangle?
They
So if I'll put a rectangle here.
they size, they angles,
What do we know about a rectangle?
Got 4
they got
90-degree angles.
4 90-degree angles, that's good. That's true.
Angles.
Yeah, I know. You said angles. They're all the same. You don't have to draw this on your paper. What else do I know about a rectangle?
Square.
Okay, so these two sides are the same, so this would be your length, we'll make those L, and your two widths are the same, that makes a rectangle. Okay. Now, if I was going to do a perimeter of that, I would say W plus L plus W plus L, right? Okay, so that's what we're going to write down. On number 4, we're going to say capital P, because that stands for perimeter, and we have W plus L plus W plus L. Now, how can I simplify that formula right there? Combine like terms. Okay? And so the perimeter formula is really 2W plus 2L. So you guys remember perimeter by adding up the distance around an object, which is exactly true. Okay? But if you actually look at the formula for perimeter, it has 2W plus 2L. Okay? So let's solve for one of them. We'll solve for W, because that's what we did on the other side was W. So we're going to solve for W. What are we going to need to do? Subtract the L term. So we're going to subtract 2L. So I'm going to get P minus 2L equals 2W. We need to get W by itself, so you have to divide by 2. Yes, very good. So we'll have P minus 2L divided by 2 equals W. Okay. Now here's my question. Remember when we had question 3 up here, and we talked about how many answers there were. There were all 3 of these answers, right? And they're all 3 the same answer, correct? Okay, but MathXL likes 2 over the decimal. Okay, same thing here. This is a correct answer, but that answer can be simplified. Okay, so we need to be talking about all the different forms because, you know, MathXL is a little picky and they only like certain forms. Okay, so if I'm looking at this, does anybody know another way that they could possibly write that same thing? Anybody want to take a guess?
Wait, about what?
How to write that exact same answer. Another equivalent form of that answer. Not flip it. Well, I know what you mean. You mean put the W on the left? Is that what you mean by flip it? Yeah, you can write it like that. But you can also write it like this. P divided by 2 minus 2L divided by 2 equals W. So instead of writing it as one fraction, it can be written as 2 separate fractions. That's an equivalent form. Now, another equivalent form would be P divided by 2 minus, now answer me this. What's 2 divided by 2? 1, so this would just be minus L. And all 3 of those are equivalent forms. Okay? So if you're given a multiple choice part on MathXL or something like that, you need to be able to recognize all 3 forms. Okay? If it's a fill in the blank, it will accept any of those 3. Does that make sense? So you can choose kind of which one you like. Okay, this page, you can either glue it in, or if you write kind of big and you'd rather just write each one of the problem in, that's fine too. Doesn't matter.
was on 16.
On 16, yes, please. Cameron, you trying to say something?
I was thinking French was one of those that would- Next time, please walk out.
Switch.
I know. It's not perfect. She's trying to play you got. What is killing you called? You know what that means, seriously?
I didn't hear what you said, I'm sorry.
Never mind. You know that phrase always you saying when you trying to play back? Trending. That makes sense. You trying to play back? It is great. It's They just food drive so
Okay, so number 5. We have A equals QM plus Q. And to see how it has a comma, then M, so that's telling you what letter it wants you to solve for, okay? So different ways you will see that, that's one of the ways that you will see that. Okay? So if I need to get the M by itself, this is very similar to number 2, I believe it was, on the other side of the page. So what's the first thing that you are going to do? Subtract Q. So subtract the Q that's by itself. So we'll have A minus Q equals QM. Okay? Now I need to get the M by itself. So how do I get rid of the Q that's with the M? Divide by it. And so we will have capital A minus Q divided by Q equals M. Now, I want you to write the 2 equivalent forms to this answer. Go back and look at number 4 that we did. What's the other 2 forms that I can write this as?
A divided by 2, divided by Q minus Q divided by 2, which equals,
You mean Q.
oh, yeah.
You're right. That's one equivalent form. Okay? All I did was separate it out into 2 fractions. Okay? What would be another one? Yes?
Could it be A divided by Q equals L?
Close.
Q minus Q.
Minus, no, what's, okay, Q divided by Q. Think about this. What's 5 divided by 5?
1.
1. 2 divided by 2? 1. So
So
Q
minus-
divided by Q is just 1. Very good. Very good, guys. This class can handle a lot.
You said what?
I said you guys can handle a lot. You guys are a good class. Okay. So 6. We're only going to do 2 more, by the way. So we're not going to get through all of these. Okay, this is the one in the future that you will see
Question, why is the Y in the comma? After the comma.
that tells you to solve for that variable. That's the variable that we're going to solve for. And this is the one that you will see a lot in the future of, this type of question where you have both X's and Y's, not so much of the other formulas. Okay, so if I'm going to solve this for Y, first step, Antonio, what do you think? What am I going to do first here on this one?
All right. You subtract,
Subtract
the 2.
The 2x, yes. So now here's my question. Do I do 12 minus 2x and get 10x here?
No.
No, because these are not like terms. So we are going to have just 12 minus 2x.
You for each of these, do you want us to do the other two as well?
No.
It was just
And
that.
probably prefer if you didn't do 7 because it's the hardest one on the page.
No, I got 7.
Okay,
I
good.
don't get 8.
Okay. Okay. Now, what am I going to have to get rid of? I have to get rid of the 3. So divide by 3. So you get y equals 12 minus 2x divided by 3. Is there other answers you could have for this one?
Yeah.
Yes, there is. There's 2 other answers that you could
That's what
possibly
I'm saying. You
have.
used to write the
Here.
calculation down.
No, you don't have to. You can if you would like.
No.
I will.
Y equal, what is it?
So here's one. Y equals, remember we're going to write this as 2 separate fractions.
Dang, I thought you was gonna let us try it.
Oh,
You never get it.
I just covered it up.
No, you want to tell us now.
I'm not going to tell you the other one. You tell me.
I don't know.
Y
It's the only one I
equals,
know.
I got you. Hold on. Y equals 12 over 3
Mm-hmm.
minus
4.
3 over 2x.
2x over 3. Now, what's 12 divided by 3?
4.
4. So the other acceptable answer would be 4 minus 2x over 3.
That's all I'm saying.
It's fine. If you don't get these, then this is the answer that you use. Okay? All I did here,
So basically, you gotta know the second one to know the third one.
yes,
Okay.
yes,
Do that in that one.
yes. But if you can get this far, you understand what we're doing today. These are just equivalent forms. And your quiz next week, it's not gonna be multiple choice, so you're not gonna have multiple answers. This answer will work. Do you understand how to get that far, Calvin? Okay. Okay, number 7. Okay.
You distribute.
Yes. Whenever you have something outside of a parenthesis, we are going to distribute first. Doesn't matter if it's a letter or a number. So we are going to distribute this capital T. So we have TR plus TS equals RS. And what are we solving for? What does it tell you what letter? Okay, now, the problem here is we have one S on the left and one S on the right. And we need to put them both on the same side. Okay?
So don't
Like
you
I said,
gotta-
this is the hardest
Don't
one.
you gotta add no wait, shouldn't you subtract CR first and then add RS?
Okay, you could do it that way.
I did.
You could do it that way. Yeah.
It's the R.
I was just gonna subtract the TS to the other side.
Oh yeah, you can do that. I just said it the long way then.
Yeah. But yours should work. You don't erase it, you should get the same answer. So I'm gonna subtract TS. So I have TR equals RS minus TS. Now, this is something that we haven't really talked about yet, and we will be getting into it, okay? So we have 2 terms here on the left, or the right side, correct? We have an RS and we have a TS. What do they both have in them? They both have an S, okay? So we have to do a technique called factoring. Factoring is just undistributing. So in other words, we are going to have an S here, and then in parentheses, we're going to put our RT. Do you see how I just undid the parentheses? So if I would distribute this S, I would get RS minus TS. Okay? That's something that we're gonna be getting into,
No, you wouldn't.
okay?
You would add someone.
But some of you might be familiar with it and some of you might not, okay? But this problem is one that Math Excel likes to use a lot, unfortunately, yes.
So basically, you can have two for the same letters, you need that same number again.
Exactly right, exactly right. Now, what am I gonna have to divide by here? I need to solve for S, so I need to get S by itself, so I divide by,
Go.
But
I just didn't get that part.
okay,
How about R
okay.
minus T?
Yes, divide by R minus T. Go ahead if you get that. Okay, do you see what these two have in common?
Letters.
They have two letters in common, right? They both have an S.
Yep.
So that can go to the front,
Okay.
right there, and then what's left here?
Is R minus T.
R minus T.
So, it wouldn't be like, it just, is that, I don't get it, so like, it just
When
turns
you-
into a big S or something?
No, when you pull out the S, then you have to input parentheses,
And it
whenever you
doesn't
pull
matter if
something out.
It doesn't matter if it's two S's, it's just one.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Got it. And then we are going to divide by R minus T. And I would suggest that you guys keep that in parentheses.
You can't do that on a computer, it's gonna be wrong.
Well, on Math Excel, it allows you to have that fraction button so you don't have to put the parentheses around it. Okay?
That's it.
Yep, we are stopping